Victoria Beckham's new Netflix docuseries marks a decisive shift for the Spice Girl turned designer. No more hedging, no more spin. She is presenting her life as she experienced it, say industry observers, and the impact is a deliberate departure from the carefully controlled public image she has cultivated for decades. Opening up about what she calls a dark time, Victoria recounts being pushed to her breaking point as she fought to keep her fashion label alive. The former pop star describes arriving at work in tears, overwhelmed by ballooning debts and the constant scramble to steady the business. In the three-part series, titled simply Victoria Beckham, she says, "I almost lost everything. I used to cry before I went to work every day because I just felt like a firefighter. It was like a snowball that was going down the mountain. We were millions of pounds in the red. I didn't know what to do, and I was so desperate to save this business that I cared so much about. I felt, if I'm being completely honest, like I was breaking down myself." That pressure bled into her marriage. Posh, 51, acknowledges that David Beckham often stepped in with financial support, reportedly once to the tune of £30 million, a dynamic that she says was difficult to navigate at home. "Yes, I'm going home to my husband, but I'm going home to my business partner as well, and so I would talk to him about it," she recalls. "I had to, he was invested. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it." David, 50, concedes he felt uneasy as the cash outflows mounted. "I was panicked by it, because I never saw anything coming back," he says. "And eventually I was like, this cannot continue." Yet the story is not just about survival. Victoria documents a turnaround that gathered pace in recent years. In August, reports showed Victoria Beckham Holdings grew revenue by 22% over the prior 12 months. "I was constantly told I wasn't good enough in my youth and as a young adult, so I'm proud of what I've achieved," she says. The series also ventures into territory she has long avoided: her struggles with an eating disorder during the height of Spice Girls' fame. She links the illness to a desperate bid for control amid the chaos of global celebrity and a machine that rarely slowed down. "I could control my weight and I was controlling it in an incredibly unhealthy way," she admits. "When you have an eating disorder, you become very good at lying. And I was never honest about it with my parents. I never talked about it publicly." According to talent agent and PR expert Dermot McNamara, viewers are encountering a very different side to Victoria. He argues the project, on which she even consulted King Charles, lands as a turning point. She's finally letting the mask slip a little and has opened up about struggles she's faced behind the polished facade, he says. For years, she's been seen as this unshakable, picture-perfect woman, but what comes across this time is how much she's had to fight to keep everything together. She talks about the darker moments. "It's easy to forget how much she risked to reinvent herself from pop star to designer, and she has been refreshingly honest about the sacrifices along the way. There are tender beats too, especially in the love story that recalibrated her ambitions." Victoria reveals that neither marriage nor motherhood featured in her early plans. That changed when she met David in 1997, then a rising Manchester United star. "I was never the young girl growing up that dreamt of getting married and dreamt of being a mum. It wasn't until I met David that those things even occurred to me," she says. "When I met David, I'd never felt that connection with anybody before." For David, the feeling was instant and overwhelming. "When I met Victoria, I couldn't find one thing about her I didn't like, not one thing," he says. "I mean, I could find a few now. Back then she was this mythical person. I wanted everyone to know I was dating Posh Spice. And within 2 years of being together, we were married with 1 kid. McNamara notes that David's steady presence shines through it all, casting the couple as mutual anchors after years of speculation about their relationship. Their family appears on the periphery, with eldest son Brooklyn, 26, and his wife Nicola making a brief appearance as they arrive at Victoria's Paris Fashion Week show just over a year ago, even as the series avoids addressing reports of a rift. In contrast, daughter Harper, 14, gets a playful spotlight as she tries to teach her mother to dance. The tone lifts in these scenes, softening the portrait without diluting the candor. There is humor too, aimed at one of Victoria's most persistent labels. Teased about being a miserable cow that doesn't smile, she deadpans that red carpet choreography is partly to blame. I've looked miserable for all these years, because when we stand on the red carpet, this guy, Bex, has always gone on the left. Now, I didn't realize that when I smile, which I do, I smile from the left, because if I smile from the right, I look unwell. So consequently I'm smiling on the inside, but no one ever sees it, so that's why it looks so moody. For McNamara, the cumulative effect is a portrait of an artist at a crossroads. She's been through so much heartache privately, particularly with the distance that's grown between her and Brooklyn, but instead of shutting down, she's showing a side of herself that's more open than ever, he says. Victoria has spent the past 30 years being increasingly guarded, and it's refreshing to see her lean into that vulnerability. The message seems clear: she's done trying to prove herself, now she just wants to be real. The subject agrees. Making the series, she says, felt like a year's therapy. The perfectionist admits to some evolution along the way. I feel that I went into this process calling myself a control freak, and I've come out the other end a reformed control freak. With David, 50, and sons Romeo, 23, and Cruz, 20, alongside Brooklyn and Harper, the docuseries reframes the brand as a family endeavor that weathered a punishing stretch and emerged steadier. It is not triumphal. It is simply honest, and that honesty is the point.